That figures. Okay, so I tried to pause it and I didn't, so this is going to be part 2 of the wheel cylinder. I am done-ish. And when I say done, I mean I have everything put back together. The only thing I was going to show you, and I will, okay, putting the wheel back on, the lug nuts are all started. So, gonna do this. All right, there you go. That's the Cobalt 24 volt brushless compact half-inch impact. Say that fast 5 times. So anyhow, I have been turning wrenches a long time, for as long as I can remember. I started fixing my parents' cars before I had a driver's license. I can remember putting a clutch cable in a Corvair. It was like 10 below zero. It was so cold you couldn't work in gloves, but when you picked up the tools, they would stick to your hands. That's how cold it was. And the car wasn't jacked up. The car was parked straddle a ditch. So I had room to lay underneath, and there was, I don't know what GM was thinking when they designed those Corvairs, but the clutch cable ran down what would have been the drive shaft tunnel if it was a front wheel or a front engine car with rear wheel drive. But there must have been, to me at the time, because it was so cold, there was like 100. I'm sure it wasn't that many, maybe 20, 30, 3/8 or 7/16 bolts that held that cover plate over that little passage that went from the front of the vehicle to the back of the vehicle, where the clutch cable was routed. And so, been turning wrenches a long time. My point, sorry, I digress. My point was that I have never torqued lug nuts, ever. I know guys that, put them on with an air impact and just put them on till it feels like the nuts are ready to pop. The studs are ready to snap. And, I've seen studs snap off, none that I've tightened. I have forgotten to tighten lug nuts before, but I've never torqued them. I've always used an impact or a 4-way or a breaker bar, whatever, and I've never had them come loose. And it wasn't, and I still don't get this, but I had 2 lug nuts C's when I swapped rims on my PT Cruiser. I have an '01 PT Cruiser 5-speed, and it had the chrome plated alloy wheels, and the chrome was coming off, and I was having to air up the tires on a regular basis. Sorry, I'm going to set this down again. Anyhow, so I went to a local salvage yard and got a set of regular aluminum, just clear-coated aluminum wheels with tires on for like $200, and the tires would pass inspection. So anyhow, that's what I bought. And I had bought a new set of lug nuts matching because I didn't, excuse me. Oh, pardon me. Anyhow, OEM lug nuts are steel lug nuts with a polished aluminum cap on them. And like I said, this is a 2001, so many of my lug nuts on there were missing the caps, and it took 2 different size sockets to get the wheels off. So I had bought a new set, and I bought the style that were like they take a special socket to put them on and take them off, but it's like they're all keyed. So I put those on, and I noticed that there wasn't hardly any shoulder on the lug nut. So I scrapped that idea because I figured, going down the road at some point, the wheel would push off because there wasn't much of the 45 that holds the wheel on was way too small on those lug nuts for the wheels that I was putting it on. So anyhow, I put the original ones back on, the assorted with the caps, some with caps, some without caps. And I had anti-seized all the lugs. This is the part that puzzles me. So I anti-seized them and I only put them on like with a breaker bar. I didn't like, it was not my objective to over tighten them because I knew they were only going to be on there a day or two at the most. I went and got another set of lug nuts to put on there, got back to the garage, went to take them off. I got all of them off except two on the right front and they were seized. And I ended up going in there. I bought the left-hand thread sockets that you spin on. Actually, you spin them on counterclockwise and they bite into the nut and supposed to break it loose. Well, that didn't work. It just stripped the nut even more. So I ended up going in, and this was a real trick, with a plasma cutter and plasma cutting the nut off. I don't remember if I ended up replacing studs or not, but anyhow, long story short, that's the only time I had two that I couldn't get off, and I still can't figure out why they weren't cross-threaded. They weren't over-tightened. They just didn't want to come off. And as I said, I put anti-seize on them before I put them on, just because I didn't want to have issues when I changed out the old crappy lug nuts for the new thingy lug nuts. So that's the only incident in my long career that I ever had with lug nuts that I personally put on, and it turned out I couldn't get those off. I've never had them come loose. I've forgotten to tighten them. As a matter of fact, on that particular lug nut swap, wheel swap, I actually forgot to tighten them, and I got up the road, and fortunately there was a service station that I had dealt with off and on over the years, and they let me use a four-way. They let me borrow a four-way so I could tighten them up and then get back to the garage where I worked and take care of it. So anyhow, never torqued them. That was the only issue on my own PT Cruiser, and that wasn't, I didn't snap the studs. I don't feel they were over tightened, but somehow they got so tight I couldn't get them off, short of burning them off with a plasma cutter. So anyhow, say what you want, do what works for you. You want to torque them down, that's fine. I actually at one point did own two torque wrenches. I had a foot-pound torque wrench and I had an inch-pound torque wrench. Not sure where I got the inch-pound torque wrench, but that was like a 3/8 drive. But I'd spent a lot of money, to me at the time, probably like around $100 on a good clicker torque wrench, and I'm going to be getting another one at some point soon because I don't like being without one. But I don't have one now, and I am not going to get in the habit of torquing them down. That's 200 foot-pounds on that. I didn't beat them on with it. Next time I go to take them off, they come off fine. And actually, I didn't put those wheels on there. That's the tread right story right there. Those two tires were on the front. I had one of my tread rights go bad, and it was on the rear. So I went and I bought the tires that are now on the front from a local tire store that I used to deal with years ago. And I had them put the new ones on the front and then put the remaining two tread rights that were on the front on the back. And they put them on with, that's the first time I've had that tire off since I had the new tires on the front and the tread rights moved to the back. So you didn't see it because I didn't record it, but when I took those off, I took them off with that compact impact wrench, and like I said, that 200 foot-pounds, and I'm assuming they mean breakaway. So it took them off with no problem. I haven't had any problems with the lug nuts coming loose. The tire store that I dealt with Cantners in Shoemakersville, shout out to them. Um, Dealt with them for years over the years. It's been a while since I was there, but I always got good service there. I always got treated well there. Um, so if you're in the area and you want good prices on tires and you want a pit stop tire change, they can do it for you. You're in and out in minutes, literally minutes, and that's for like a 4 tire change. I mean, they just throw guys at a vehicle and they get them done as quick as possible, and they do really good work. So anyhow, yeah, so I'm perfectly comfortable putting those on with that torque wrench. So anyhow, there you go. I'm going to turn it around again. So I think that's all I'm going to do today on Project Bumble Jeep. I want to look at the clock, see where I'm at. Otherwise, if it's still any morning left, I'm going to go back and relax until 1 o'clock, and I'll meet Marcus over here at 1, and we'll get the 2 posts stood and bolted to the floor today yet, and the rest of it can come as it may. Anybody in the area watches my videos. I'm in the Hamburg, Reading, Pennsylvania area. We have some stuff here. I'm going to put it up. We have the right front door, both rear doors, and both front fenders off of a Ford. I want to say it's an Expedition because it's a V8, and I don't think the Exploders had the V8s in. I'm not sure of the year. Looks like 2005, 2007, somewhere in there. I wish I had more information. So we want to get rid of them. They're all in good shape. There's no rust on them. We scrapped out a vehicle because of probably a rotted frame and damage in other areas. That's why we only have 3 of the 4 doors. So if you're looking for parts for 05, 07 Ford Expedition, I believe that's what they are, leave me a comment and I'll find out for sure what they are, how much Mark wants for them, and maybe you can swing by and get yourself a screaming deal on parts. So anyhow, that's all for now. Yeah, I don't think I want to work on that anymore. Oh, I got to top off the brake fluid and check the pedal, but it gravity bled nice. Just a little hint: when you're doing gravity bleeding, make sure your master cylinder is full and the lid is on tight before you do the brake work. Do whatever you need to do. Swap out the calipers, the wheel cylinders, whatever brake line. If you got a brake, do a brake line repair, brake hose replacement, whatever. Do all of that, but leave the lid on the master cylinder. And then when you're all done and you have things all buttoned up, open your bleeders and start with the right rear that's furthest from the master cylinder, and take the lid off. Make sure you're topped off. And once you're topped off, leave the lid off, crack the bleeder, let it run for a minute or 2, close the bleeder, check your master cylinder, and then do your left rear, then your right front, and your left front. And you can gravity bleed by yourself. You may make a little bit of a mess. I put down, we have these multi-layered paper fiber absorbent pads. I'm tilting it down because I'm looking at them thinking you can see them. But those things, and they do a good job of soaking stuff up. So anyhow, if the less mess you make, the less you have to clean up when you're done. So there you are. All right, we're running almost 15 minutes here, so got to shut it down now. You'll see me in the next one. Take care. God bless. Buenos dias.